hi to the camera, Katie. Hey, Christy, you want to say hi? Come on, give us a wave here, Christy.
Whatever it was, it thrived on fear.
Katie and Christy.
Whatever's happening is connected to the tapes.
Hey, welcome to my Paranormal Activity series review. Now, this series started in 2007. First movie was made in 2007, was widely released in 2009, and is basically spawned a now franchise with 7 movies and a 8th one possibly coming, a VR video game, a spiritual sequel that was made in Japan, and who knows what's going to happen with the series. But let's just talk about the series. So the first Paranormal Activity came out it was wrapped in 2007, but it was physically released in 2009, and is actually the movie that got Jason Blum his start, and is about a couple named Katie and Micah as they move into a new house in Southern California, where they start to experience paranormal activity throughout the house. They soon realize that it's connected with Katie's past. With the series, I started picking up with the series, I think, after the 3rd movie. Because I remember my dad used to work for this company that would make merchandise for movies, and for a long time I had a shirt that was just the Paranormal Activity 3 logo. I had that for a while. But I didn't know what it was. So I was just like, hey, thanks for the free shirt, but I don't know what this is. So I started picking up what the series was. And, you know, this first movie, a lot of people, it's kind of like you either love it or hate it movie. This movie brought back found footage when Blair Witch used it in 1999, Cloverfield used it in 2008. So this kind of it's a resurgence of found footage, which I think works in some cases, but other times I think it's used just for cheap, The Gallows. Yeah, this was the movie that kind of brought it all back. Yeah, if you do get scared of ghost stories, then I think this would freak you out. But you know, for me, I hardly ever get scared over things. But it is kind of creepy where it's with so many horror movies. You know, you have The Strangers, where it's these strangers, it's a home invasion story. The Purge, we very much could see that happen soon, which actually, little fun fact about The Purge, the first movie takes place this year in 2022, so it's a bit weird. So we'll see what happens in the summer or at the end of the year. But this movie basically says, what if the entity is in your house, where you're supposed to, you're supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to be your safest, the safest place you know. But what if it's not? Which is interesting to me. But the way it goes is with the two characters, Katie and Micah. They like each other, but then at the same time they kind of snip at each other, kind of like a relationship. But once the guy basically like can't stop recording a whole lot. That's one thing about this series, is that they never put down the camera. They always have to film just kind of like pointless stuff. But then again, I understand why they're doing it, because it's supposed to point out that these are real people. You know, if you didn't have kind of like that pointless stuff, you wouldn't have a movie. Much like Cloverfield, the first like 10 minutes is in there. You know, you may like these characters, you may hate them already, but the first 10 minutes of that movie, if you didn't have those first 10 minutes, you wouldn't have a movie. So I understand what they're going for with this. But I think the build-up is really good. The execution is a little bit hit and miss. Because with Micah basically like taunting this entity, it just starts becoming like, I wouldn't do that. And I definitely think like a entity that's been following you your entire life, I think is very interesting to me. You know, kind of like if you've seen the Fox show of The Exorcist, which you're meant to believe that it's a spin-off or a reboot, but halfway through you find out that it's actually a sequel to the original movie, and it's like, dude, that is so good. So I find that stuff interesting too. And yeah, when it got to the end, it was just kind of like, okay. And then when I found out that there was multiple endings to this, and then the one that's on screen is the one we got, thanks to Steven Spielberg, by the way, because there's 3 endings to this. The one we got was Spielberg's ending. The one that they were originally going to do, which was when after Katie does what she does, she then walks upstairs and sits by the side of the bed and starts like rocking back and forth till the police show up. That was originally going to happen. That was going to be the ending to the movie until Spielberg demanded it to be the way it is. And then a third one is literally she just walks up to the camera and just kills herself, which was just kind of like, okay, that was a bit anticlimactic, but okay. So I think overall the first movie, you know, it's got some problems to it. You know, but overall I still enjoyed it. So I give the first movie an average. And, you know, thanks to this movie being kind of like a little word of mouth movie a little bit, it then blew up. Which then they made a sequel. So Paranormal Activity 2, it takes place during the first movie, but it picks up with Katie's sister, Christy, who is starting to go through these things as well with her new family, but also with it's her new husband or new boyfriend. I forget what the relationship was. His daughter and their new son, Hunter. Hunter plays into the series more as the series goes on, but I'll talk about that later. And their dog. But this one is happening literally as the first one is happening. Like, they literally say in the beginning of the movie that, like, you see Katie and Christy, or Katie and Micah, or Micah. They show footage of them, and it literally says, like, this is, like, weeks before the events of the first movie. And then the last time we see Katie in this movie, she literally leaves, and that's where the first movie picks up. That's where the first movie starts. So 2 is happening right as 1 is about to happen. So you could technically say this is a prequel, but it's not. It's just happening at the same time. It definitely goes through the same things that the first movie was going through. So if you saw the first movie before, you're kind of like, oh, so this happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, this happened. I think 2, I liked a little better than the first movie. Because there was definitely some things like when, like with Hunter, their baby, involved, the stakes were definitely higher. Reminded me a lot of like Poltergeist, where like after Carol Ann, the little girl, got sucked in and was talking through the TV, and then they start talking about what is happening. It's like, yeah, stakes are just got higher and higher and higher. So there's a bigger threat. So I think overall two was good. I liked it a little better than the first one, but I still give it an average. Then that one made money, and then we got 3, which is the prequel.
Stop! Sorry. It's not funny.
So Paranormal Activity 3 picks up, it is the prequel of how this entity has followed both Katie and Christy all their life. It takes place in 1988. It's them when they're little kids, like 6, 8, 10 years old, or something like that, around that range. But it's the start of how this entity has grown a connection with them, because they start kind of like with typical like paranormal movies, with kids. The kids just start playing with them, which is what happens with this. Like, Christy starts befriending the entity when Katie's like, "What are you doing?" To then the entity starts causing harm to Katie. I liked this one. This one was my favorite. I said was. So, but it definitely told a story. So I think 1, 2, and 3 work best as if you just watch it as a trilogy. So like you start with third one and then go to 2 and then go to 1. Or do 3, 1, and 2. So that way you get all the information you need. But this one definitely, it racked up the scares. There was definitely moments I didn't see coming. The whole like them doing Bloody Mary, which then they carry over into the rest of the series, which works in some ways but then doesn't work in other ways. So it's just kind of like, it's like a one-off thing they did. But I still think that it worked for the most part. So I liked 3 enough to give it great. Then they did 4.
Oh my god.
Paranormal Activity 4 takes place after Paranormal Activity 2 and is on a new family that after their neighbor's house catches on fire and the neighbor's in the hospital, she has a kid named Robbie. As the movie goes on, they start to suspect that Robbie isn't who he seems and could possibly be Hunter, Christy's baby, but all like a little bit more grown up. This is kind of when the series started kind of dipping low for me, because it was just the scares. It started building up. Like, there's like at random times through the movie, you just hear an automated voice say like "front door open," and you just think like, "Uh-oh." So I think the buildup is there, but just the execution is just kind of lazy, and like how they use like the Xbox Kinect, which is just so adorable to see now. It's just like, wow, this was so 2012. It's just kind of wacky to see it now, because it's like, yeah, those are just non-existent anymore. But how they kind of use that with scaring, and it's kind of like, okay, like I guess that could work. But overall, this was just kind of boring. It was just boring. Nothing to me really happened until it hit the third act. And then they're like, "Oh, yeah, this takes place after the second movie." Because if you weren't told that this takes place after the second movie, you would have completely thought it was like a completely different movie that just slapped the name Paranormal Activity on it. And it's just like, you had this growing mystery of like, if this kid Robbie is really Hunter, because they start throwing out little clues here and there, and it's just like, you guys are kind of forcing yourself to blend in with the other movies, so it doesn't really work that way. And then when the third act kicks in, they then do something. It's like, there it is. Yeah, and then the climax when just everything just tries going nuts. I think that worked the most. But then another thing with these found footage movies is that they have a formula to them. So you kind of expect the way it ends. And with this, it's kind of like, okay, it ended like I just abruptly just cut. So it's like, what happens? Credits? Really? So with this one, I give fine. You know, it's not terrible, but it's not really good either. It was just boring. But next we get to my favorite one, Marked Ones.
Así como nosotros. Ave María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo. Bendita tú eres entre todas las mujeres. Amén, Santa Madre. Amén.
Paranormal Activity: The Marked Ones is a spin-off movie that takes place in Oxnard, California, which, fun fact, I lived in Oxnard all through high school, so go Yellow Jackets. But this one is around a new person he's hanging out with his friends, doing kind of dumb stuff with a GoPro, but after his downstairs neighbor dies, they sneak in and find out that their neighbor was involved with voodoo stuff, but could also be connected with Katie and Christy. But that main character named Jesse might be the next target. So this one was my favorite because it broke the formula we were used to with the series. It was all kind of like, in this one there is no like them sleeping at night. There's no like night 1, night 20. It doesn't do that. This one I really liked. This one was directed by Christopher Landon, who wrote 2 through 5, and then went to go do the 2 Happy Death Day movies and then Freaky, and then came back to write Next of Kin. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, this one's my favorite because with this one, it doesn't force itself into it. It's basically saying like, oh, what's all this stuff? Okay, we're good. So it doesn't focus on that, which I really liked. And then, yeah, I love how he starts having like these powers and is basically using them to like, hey, look what I can do, which is total like what you would be, what if you're a teenager, what you would do. That's why I really liked another found footage movie, Chronicle, where the 3 of them, they're teenagers and they have superpowers, and they don't go out to like fight crime. They just use it to prank people and to like say, hey, look what we can do. Very much like this, but throughout the course of the movie, it starts becoming more sinister. And then towards the end, when it just goes just nuts, and then they introduce time travel. I know a lot of people did not like that. Me, I thought it was cool. I'm a big sucker for time travel stuff. I love the Back to the Future movies. So I really like time travel. But the problem with time travel is that there's going to be a ton of plot holes. And a lot of people are just like, what was this? And I saw it and I was like, starting to notice things. I was like, wait, what's going on? Oh, you guys are doing this. And I just got kind of excited for it. So I really dug Marked Ones. So Marked Ones is my favorite movie, and it gets a great. Then Ghost Dimension.
There's something behind you.
So Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension was supposed to be the end of the series, according to Jason Blum. But this one is a completely different family that find a like VHS camcorder from back in the 80s, and they find all these tapes that's Katie and Christy, and start finding out that like everything that's happening with the tapes is happening to them in real time, even though the tapes that they're watching are from the past. Cool concept. I really liked it. Like, there's one scene that you see in the trailer where, like, here, I'll play it right now.
I think I see two men. What are your names?
Brian. Mike.
We're the Fleege brothers.
Brothers. Daddy, I can't sleep.
What's going on?
I hear noises in my room.
You hear noises in your room? Okay, well, Daddy will go up and make sure everything's...
Bless you.
Yeah, see? That scene was the creepiest. That was the creepiest scene in the movie, because I'm like, whoa, that was really cool. Then it just gets sloppy, because they find out that with this camcorder, it can basically pick up things that are naked to our eyes. So it basically, we don't see it, so it's a blind eye. But every time they show it, it's just like, it looks like it's like one of those like After Effects filters or something they easily thought, like, we can easily just put this in and just make it work. And it just doesn't. It doesn't work. It wasn't good. This one was not good. And then with an ending that just was like, what just happened? It just made you question everything you've seen up to that point. And the fact that they tried so hard to make this one in 3D, it just looks ridiculous. Like, so many things like are trying to like pop out at you in 3D. It's just like, it's so stupid. It was an easy tool for them to say like, hey, we can make more money if we do it in 3D. So yeah, this was supposed to end the series. And in fact, this set I have right here, which I'll discuss at the end, it just has the 6 movies. It doesn't have Next of Kin on it, because it was originally going to end that way. Then last year, we got Paranormal Activity Next of Kin.
Oh my God.
Are you sure about this?
I have to know.
So Paranormal Activity Next of Kin is supposed to be a soft reboot of the series, and picks up with a woman that wants to connect with her family roots, so it leads her to Amish community, and starts seeing that something is amiss and sinister things happen. So with this movie, Christopher Landon did come back to write this one. He did not direct it. This instead was directed by William Eubank, I think, who directed Underwater, which I've seen, and it's... I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it sooner or later. But I think overall this movie, it was overall enjoyable. Some things they do are just like, okay, whatever. But there were some moments that were a bit cool, like some scenes where, you know, her talking with the locals and stuff like that, and then basically saying like, this entity is here, and she's like, what entity? And she's like, and they're like, I don't know. So you have that going on in your head. So this one reminded me a lot of another found footage movie called Grave Encounters, where it was a documentary crew go to this asylum, and the asylum just starts messing with them. It reminded me a lot of that, which I'll talk about Grave Encounters later. It had that feel to it, but some things were just kind of like, okay, we got to put this in here. We got to put this in here. We got to hit this in here because this is what people remember. And when you do that, it can make or break a movie. It usually break. But if you do it very nicely, it can make the movie. This one, it kind of does both. Like, some moments are like, okay, that worked there. But other times it's like, okay, that was a bit forced there. But when it gets to the third act, and then you start discovering what this actually is, it's a bit cool. It's really cool, and it worked. I think it worked. I just got startled by a bird that almost crashed in my window. Whew. Remember how I was saying earlier that not a lot of things scare me? I take that back. But yeah, I think overall this one was a hit and miss kind of movie. Like, there were some parts that I liked, some parts I didn't like. So I think it's right on par with like 1 and 2, and it gets an average. So let's talk about this. This is the Blu-ray 6-movie collection set that they put out. So it comes with 1 through Ghost Dimension. I will say right off the bat that this is a lie. It says on the back that there's theatrical and unrated cuts of all of them. That is a lie. 2 through 6 have both theatrical and unrated cuts. The first one does not. It just has theatrical. So this is a lie. They haven't said yet if they're gonna do another box set for this. Much like Saw, I have 1 through Jigsaw box set, and then they're putting out another one to add in Spiral. So they really haven't talked about doing like a 6-movie collection of this, because they would have this, and then Next of Kin is on Paramount Plus, so you can just watch it that way. But overall, this wasn't bad. I got this for, I think it was like $20. And usually when it comes to like collection stuff, like I got like if you haven't seen my 4K movie collection, you definitely should. I got the Dark Knight trilogy on 4K, and I got Matrix series. Those, I waited for those to drop down in price, because I think I bought like Matrix for like $30 when it originally was like $50 or like $55. Dark Knight trilogy, I think it was around the same thing. This, I think, was just going for like $20, $25, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it. So yeah, just FYI, if you're gonna buy this, do not expect the unrated cut for first movie, because even though it says it on the back, it's not in here. So that is my series review for Paranormal Activity. I eventually want to start cranking more of these out, because I have Saw, I have Chucky, I have Final Destination. I have all these series I need to cover. But yeah, thank you very much for watching my series review for Paranormal Activity. They may come out with an 8th movie. They haven't talked about it. I heard something that was going to say like Paranormal Activity: The Other Side or something like that, but it's they haven't confirmed. They haven't confirmed anything, so who knows what's going to happen. So, but thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe for more. Let me know what other movies and TV shows and other series you want me to check out, and I'll see you next time.